Dear attendees, let me introduce Natalia Kurysheva, Localization Project Manager at Agilent. And Natalia had a great mission at Agilent because when the company implemented machine translation, after some time, it became obvious that raw machine translation output is not good enough, and you have to do something with quality of it, right? So Natalia will tell us about this challenging mission and what you have achieved, Natalia. So giving mic to you.
Thank you very much, Max, for this introduction. Yes, I will try not try, I will share everything we did, and I hope you guys will find it useful. So let me put my presentation on, presentation mode. Let me know if you can see my slides well. Oops. Okay. I suppose you can, right? All right.
Yep, I can see the presentation.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming here and attending my session, Improving Raw MT Quality User-Created Content Case. This is the first session, and I'm delighted to open this wonderful event. Hope you will find it interesting. So as Max has already said, my name is Natalia Kurysheva. I work as Localization Global Program Manager at Agilent Technologies. And couple of words about Agilent. For those of you who don't know us, we are one of the biggest life science companies which manufactures and sells instruments and consumables for chemical analysis. And as a localization team, we mainly work with marketing and web content, technical literature, and multimedia, and we localize our content into 9 standard languages. Before we get to the topic of the presentation and of this session, I would like to put it all in context for you. And when I talk about Agilent, about this solution, I will be referring to Agilent Community Portal, which is not our main website, but a portal for Agilent service engineers. Actually a place where they can collaborate, communicate with each other, and try to find some solutions for their issues they may find, and also discuss Agilent products and applications. Back in 2019, we integrated an on-the-fly MT plugin for this portal. It translates content of the portal into 37 languages. We actually took as a standard a list of languages which public Google Translate engine used to translate, and shortened it a little bit to address our audience. We don't need too many of the languages. On the portal, we have different reference materials and also a forum where our engineers can share their knowledge. And this forum is actually the biggest part of the portal content. And as you understand, it is a user-created content. So now a little bit about our journey. I will walk you through all the main milestones here. As I have said, we kicked off the project in 2019, and back then we started with only one machine translation engine. It was Google NMT. Last year, Agilent Community Portal was migrated to a new platform, and plugin was migrated as a part of this portal as well. Last December, we onboarded our second MT engine, Tencent. It covers our English to Chinese language pair translations. And yes, it actually took us one whole year to onboard more than one engine. And I will tell you why it happened a little later. That's a funny story and a little sad. Also, in December 2020, we started our so-called enhancement program. Basically, that will be the main topic of this presentation. So now let me talk a little bit about the plugin architecture. It will be just a quick overview. So as you can see here, in the middle of this architecture, we have Intento Enterprise MT Hub to connect us to multiple MT engines. And on the back end, we have Google NMT and Tencent at the moment. And now let me tell you what was the reason we started thinking about how we can improve raw MT. And many of you would say, hey, this is raw MT. What do you expect, right? And this is what I heard from, many times when I was searching for information online or different events devoted to machine translation. But actually, we always had this idea that probably there are some things we can do. So raw MT actually obviously has no post-editing part, and there is no easy way to verify quality for each request. The only thing which we can rely on is sample checks, which we do every quarter. Also, user feedback can be somewhat of help, but our users don't provide it regularly, and that's basically not their job to do that. So, not much help there. And this is how we actually came up with this enhancement program, and I'm going to share with you our experience. And I just want to underline that it is actually how we did it. It is our Agilent experience, and probably it's not perfect, and probably something could have been done differently, and we actually start thinking about what we could have done differently, but this is what it is, and probably we can share some insights, and maybe it can be useful for you too. Before we start, yes?
I'm deeply sorry for interrupting you, but we're getting some feedback about the sound quality. Can you please try to turn off the microphone and maybe use your laptop microphone? Maybe it will provide us with a better sound quality.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. And guys, if you can provide a feedback in chat and tell us if it's better this way.
Yes. Is it better? Yeah. No.
Seems like, oh, someone's telling it's worse. Someone's telling it's same. Natalia, can you please tell something, like maybe continue with this slide and we can hear?
It is fine for someone see, but yeah.
Just lower them in Zoom settings.
No, I actually.
Okay, yeah. Seems like everybody's.
Okay, can you hear me now? Is it better like this?
Headphones, the best.
Lower volume down a bit. Okay, let me try to do that. Audio settings. Okay, how about that? Is it better like this?
For me, it sounds a bit better.
A bit better like this? Slightly better?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we can continue. I'm very sorry for this, Natalia.
I'm sorry for that, guys. I checked my microphone before the presentation, and it sounded okay. Okay, so
you have great slides and very great speech. So
thank you very much.
Don't worry about it. Okay, please. Continue.
Before we start talking about engines, let me probably tell you how we chose them. Okay, first of all, we needed to identify how many language pairs are out there, and we came up with 37, as I mentioned. But how many of them really matter? And that was the question we asked ourselves. And after analyzing Google Analytics data, we got this list here, which you can see on the slide, and it was not really a surprise, as we basically saw that community portal users mostly speak our 9 standard languages, into which we localize most of our content anyways. So next step for us was to decide how many engines we want on the back end, right? And actually, Intento benchmark report says that to get the best quality across 48 language pairs, one needs 8 different engines. And 8 engines for us is a lot to onboard at once. So we adopted so-called phasing in and started with one engine, Google NMT, in the beginning of the project as the best performing engine for bigger number of language pairs at that moment. Then we added Tencent for English to Chinese in December last year, and we'll onboard the third one in April for English to Japanese language pair. But we didn't just onboard those engines without any checks or something. We first tested several engines on a sample piece of content and had the translations reviewed by 3 different reviewers. These reviewers included linguists and technical subject matter experts. After that, we just chose the best performing engine for each language pair. And another thing which one should think of is how often to reevaluate your choice of engines. Theory says that you should do it every 6 months, but Agilent reality says differently. In Agilent, onboarding of one engine can take up to 3 months. And this includes IT checks and legal checks. And this is if nothing like extraordinary happens. Like, for example, last year, in summer of 2020, American president signed a decree banning transactions with WeChat, the messaging app, which is owned by Tencent. Actually, that was a Chinese company, as Agilent is an American company, and it was not really clear if this decree will cover other Tencent products. All that also delayed the process of onboarding Tencent MT for us because we needed additional legal checks. So for Agilent, the most realistic plan is to revisit our set of engines once a year, check recommendations of the subject matter experts, and actually also perform sample testing. Of course, if we speak about engines, we should mention engines training. Here, several things should be considered. So first of all, possibility of training at all. As far as I understand, right now, most of the top performing engines nowadays are trainable, so this is not a big issue. Second thing to consider is corpus size. It is safe to start training from 12 to 15,000 segments, but size really doesn't matter much here. And it is more about quality, right? Corpus quality. Your translation memories should be clean and consistent in order to improve quality of the output. Otherwise, your trained engine may perform even worse than the stock ones. So Agilent TMs were being audited and cleaned up last year. It was a big project for us, and the goal of the project was both to get better leverage for our regular projects and also to use these TMs for training. And now preliminary data shows that now our TMs are in very good shape for training MT engines, and that's what we are going to do very soon. And now let's talk about another enhancement, which we had, glossaries. This is a new feature which more and more engines start to offer. So let's see what it is. So first of all, a glossary is a custom dictionary for MT engine to use to consistently translate the customer's domain-specific terminology. Here you can find some examples of use cases of glossaries. So for example, product names. Here I have an example of Agilent Seahorse. This is the product name for Agilent, and you can imagine that if we translate seahorse directly, how funny that will be in our context. So it's even more an example of not translatable term here. Agilent Seahorse should say Agilent Seahorse. Then some ambiguous words. For example, the word injector can mean nozzle, plunger, or insertion device. And yeah, it's better to specify for your domain which one you would like to choose. Another use case for glossaries are acronyms. And in Agilent, we have a lot of acronyms. So this is our case for sure. So this is how we actually prepared our data. We first of all downloaded the offline version of our community portal content and did terms extraction. And we got the long list of 1,000 terms. After that, we did the scoring. We checked frequency of the term in our content and frequency of the term in reference English corpus. And if frequency in reference English corpus was low, that means that there was a high probability of a mistake when translated by MT. So we took terms with highest frequency in Agilent content and lowest frequency in reference English corpus, and got a list of approximately 500 terms to be added to our glossary. In addition to that, we also provided a list of product names and list of non-translatable terms, and all of that actually created our glossary. It was decided to translate glossaries into 9 standard languages, as having them translated into all 37 is too expensive and really doesn't make any sense. So that is why we decided to stop on only 9. But we encountered a problem with glossaries. So the situation is that glossaries work like a list of non-translatable terms. Basically, it picks up a term from a glossary and inserts in the target context without changing the form. So this won't obviously work for languages with inflections, right, and form different forms. That's why for us the solution was to have glossaries containing only acronyms for such languages as German and Russian, and other languages to be monitored in order to check if, for example, plural forms were implemented correctly or didn't create any issues. Another issue which we found out on implementation stage was capitalization. Capitalization of each word in the English titles may look a little weird in other languages. So here, for example, you have Frank's translation of cell gas, and if we capitalize all the letters in it, all first letters in it, including prepositions and articles, it looks weird. That's why we decided not to do that. It actually happens when you have situations like this. For example, you have an English menu where you have all the words capitalized, or for example, you have capitalization in English articles. So for us, in our case, we agreed to capitalize only first letter of the sentence and brand or product names. And here I just wanted to show you some results, right? I just picked up 3 example terms from our glossary. And you can see that it has some different situations here. So for example, if you look at the first term, needle sit, you will see that in Korean, it used to be translated, right? And Agilent vial sampler was not translated because it's our product name, but all the other part of the phrase was translated. Our subject matter experts, actually technical subject matter experts, told us that for needle sit, it's better to use English word in Korean. And that's why we added it into our glossary. And now you can see how this phrase looks like. For this acronym here, MSD, we had a somewhat funny situation. So, for example, for Brazilian Portuguese, before implementation of Glossary, we had it used as an acronym. But again, our technical subject matter experts prefer to have it in full form instead of using an acronym. And that's why we added it to the Glossary for Brazilian Portuguese. With French, we actually had a situation when it was used as an acronym, and it is supposed to be used as an acronym, but we anyway added it to French glossary. Probably here is one of the examples where we could maybe check all the terms from our glossary prior to implementation. But we thought that it will be a bit difficult to do due to the amount of terms. And that's why we had this situation. And here, the last example with ISTD acronym, which used to be in Japanese translation, and here it is changed for a full form, similar to this example with MSD acronym for Brazilian Portuguese. So basically, here's what glossaries will do for you. Glossaries will help ensure correct translations of terminology, correct and consistent translations of the terminology. It will improve readability, because if at least terminology is translated correctly, then it will be more readable. Glossaries will ensure better customer experience, and also brand and product names will be translated correctly, for sure. And now, one last thing I would like to share with you, which can help you improve raw MT. It is pre-translated UI. So UI's pre-translation is something we're working now. At the moment, our team is working on extracting UI strings from our platform for pre-translation, and after it is translated, they will be handled over to Intento. Whenever there is a request in future to translate a page, UI strings translations will be pulled out from the pre-translated cache and not sent to the engines for translation. Our UI strings will be translated into 9 standard languages as well. So you can see here UI translation is in our roadmap for future. We plan to have them implemented in February this year. After that, we will also do engines training in March. In April, we plan to have our third engine integrated to cover English to Japanese language pair. And also later in 2021, we plan to investigate new features such as caching, automated tests, and whatever future offers us. So basically, this is it. Thank you very much for listening. Apologies for the problems with my sound. Hope the presentation was interesting for you. And I'm ready to answer the questions if you have any.
From my perspective, it was really interesting. Thank you very much for great slides, and I think everybody liked the design. And it's also great that you've shared the future plans with deadlines. So this is something that technology companies try to avoid, to tell the specific month when something will be released or achieved.
It's our plan. Actually, if you could see, we work with Intento team very closely, and this is our joint effort. We would like to actually come to a situation when our plugin provides a really good translation without any post editing.
This is cool. Okay, great. Then let's take a look on the questions that we have.
Sure.
Okay, so the question from, I'm very sorry if I will pronounce it mistakenly, Mariela Solier. the question is left in Smartcat community. By the way, guys, join our Smartcat community, and we have many hot topics discussed there. So, what is the question? What were some specific negative effects of the bad empty quality? Did it result in money losses, measurable drop in user reviews, or something like that?
Mhm. So, as I have said, this specific solution was implemented in the community portal, and it is somehow a closed community, right? Those are just engineers who work with our Agilent instruments, and they just provide service and support for those instruments. We do not foresee any big risks there, because people who work with these instruments, they're very, very qualified people. They have specific skills to provide their services, and the biggest risk would be that people won't understand each other in the forum. But I have never heard of any situations when bad translation of this type of content led to some breakdown of an instrument or something like that. So probably we can speak about some relatively low risk content here.
Okay. Okay, cool. There is another question from Johan D. When you talk about the training corpus, did you mean using your corpus on top of the baseline generic engine of Google NMT and or Tencent MT?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We're going to use our translation memories and train engines and see what the result will be. We have already started doing it for one language pair, and we checked the results. We had some kind of an evaluation project, but we will continue working on that.
Okay, good. Is Tencent the best engine for Chinese, or are there also other pairs that it covers well? Laura Gutierrez.
Yeah, Laura, unfortunately, we didn't check it for other language pairs. We had a specific request to improve quality of English to Chinese translation, because China is our biggest market, and we really want to provide all the information in local language for them. And actually, in our regular projects, which we do with human translations and like every day, China is the biggest volume, right, we have. And that's why we tested we tested several engines for English to Chinese language pair. So I'm sorry, I cannot answer that question for you. Sorry.
No problem, of course. And another question from Smartcat community. Yana is asking, do you use tags in your translations?
Are we talking about raw MT translations or in our TMs?
I think it will be hard to double check it with Yana, but
for raw MT, as far as I understand, no. But I think that would be a more technical question to to my colleagues from Intento, probably. But for regular projects in TMs, yes, we have tags, and it's like a normal thing in TM. But as far as I understand, that should be cleaned up before using for MT engine training. So basically, there is a difference between cleaning up a TM for regular use to improve leverage in your regular translations, right? And another thing is additional cleaning up of TMs before training the engine. And that is actually something the machine translation specialist would do. And in our company, we do not have a person who specializes on training machine translation engines. That's why that will be outsourced, and this part will be also there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. A question from Smartcat community. Ana Maria Gonzalez is asking, interesting. It's get us back to the time when you were making a decision on using raw empty. So what made you think using raw empty would be a good idea in the first place? Seems like many non-industry companies have this impression that empty can be a solution to all localization problems. Where does this idea come from?
I don't know where this idea come from, but so for us, we didn't actually have other way out for this exact case. So we do not use, in our regular projects, we do not use raw MT, of course. So we only, if we use machine translation, we use it with post editing. We do not have many projects like this at the moment, and this is another part of MT strategy development in our company for future. But in this exact case, we had a community portal with big amount of content, very useful content. Engineers using this every day, right? Searching for information and trying to find some answers to their questions. And we had no other way to have it translated, right? But we wanted to provide it in their local language. So we decided to try ROMT. Before that, there was this public Google plugin, right, which everybody was using, but basically that was not a really safe thing to use from data privacy perspective, and it was not welcomed in Agilent by Agilent legal department. That's why we decided to do this plugin, for us separately. And so RawMT was chosen only because we had huge volumes which needed to be translated, and we didn't have millions and millions and millions of dollars to do that by a human translator.
We have several more questions. So MT is a hot topic.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know the name. O.Baibakova is asking. I guess it's Olga, maybe. How did you extract the terms from the text corpus?
So I think it's a simple term extract tool, which is usually used to extract terminology from any English or like source text for any simple terminology project. Nothing specific there.
Probably she's asking about some specific tool that you use and can recommend.
The term extract, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the only one I used personally. This part was done also, by outsourced team. I can check with them, and please, Olga, if you need more information, contact me on LinkedIn. I will try to find information for you.
Okay. And there are two questions about Arabic, like a machine translation for Arabic language. What's your experience with it, and what engine you can recommend?
So for now, we have it covered by Google NMT. So basically, right now, the setup is like this. We have Tencent for English to Chinese. We have our third engine coming in for English to Japanese. And all the other, for now, are covered by Google NMT. Arabic is not one of our popular languages. And we checked our Google Analytics data several times, like months after months. It never came up as a top 10 languages for us. So we just use raw MT, and I've never heard any feedback, neither positive nor negative, from them. So this is the all experience I have.
Cool. Thank you very much. And the question from Valentina Kozlova: what TMS do you use for managing localization process, if any?
We have a TMS in place, but we do not use it for this exact project which I was talking about. We use it for our regular daily operations. We are using I'm not sure if I can say that, CloudWords TMS, and we do not have an empty model there. So all the time when we need to do something with MT plus post editing, for example, we are using it outside of a TMS.
Cool. And the question from Jay Wheeler: can you say how big a translation memory should be, at least for using it for training engines and getting good results in machine translation?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned in one of my slides, it should be around 12 to 15,000 segments, source segments. It's not words, not characters, segments in your translation memory. This is the number which you are safe to start with. But I was discussing that with one of the MT specialists who really works with it every day, and he told me that basically sometimes you can get very good result with 5,000 segments corpus for training. On the other hand, you can have a very big corpus, but with low quality, with inconsistencies inside and all kinds of problems there. And then you will get a very poor result after training. So it will depend mostly on the quality of the corpus. But yeah, the amount of segments which you should look at is 12 to 15,000.
Natalia, thank you very much. We've answered
Thank you.
11 questions. We still have few of them, but we will continue answering them later. It
Yeah,
was a great
definitely.
presentation. Wish
Thank
you a
you
great
very
day.
much. You
Stay
too,
with us if
guys.
you have time.
I will. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, good.